Say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right. Once again, we thank each and every one of you and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction. Let us begin this transmission titled The Angels of Orion. Now, this is going to cover quite a lot. Earth is a very active place right now, and has been for some time, in the following way. You are kind of like a recycling center for many different soul routes. We will put it this way. Long ago, in your terms of time, even though everything happens simultaneously, we're going to tell this story in linear fashion. In the ancient Orion systems, millions of your years ago, there was a world of great suppression, where the majority of the population were in many ways enslaved and ruled over by a troika of domineering individuals. There was a resistance movement to this that translates as the Black League, which is actually simply a reference to the idea of hiding in the shadows. They attempted to fight back, but since they were using fire to fight fire, they were eventually overwhelmed and did not succeed in changing the fate of their world. Many souls from that time, looking to transform the energy that was so dark and so negative, sought the idea of a place where such transformation could occur. When, millions of years later, because time is relative to the soul, the Anunnaki arrived on your world, and through genetic manipulation began to create from the hominid that naturally evolved the beings you now find yourselves to be, Homo sapiens, as the result of that genetic manipulation by the extraterrestrial beings known as the Anunnaki, which, by the way, come from a planet in the constellation you know as Cygnus. The idea of what has been called Nibiru was simply a way station in your solar system. It is not their origin point. Nevertheless, their world was compromised ecologically, and they were seeking to correct an imbalance by mining the substance you call gold. For in atomizing it and spreading it into the atmosphere, it would reflect solar radiation sufficiently to bring balance back into the climate changes that were severe and shifting on their world. And so they came to Earth and found that the task was beyond them after a while, and so invented the idea of workers to help them, which is you. Now, they were not supposed to do that, according to the general Anunnaki laws, and so they were recalled. But the idea that they were then given was that they had, along with others, the task from that point forward of guiding humanity in its new sentiency, in its new expression of self, forward, so that you could grow, you could learn, despite the fact that they had included in your genetic makeup some things that didn't necessarily immediately allow you the same evolutionary path that they had taken, even though you were made in their image. Now, once the human form was created, the souls of Orion knew they had some place they could go, because Earth was seen and experienced, as it is still today, as a place of cycles, where things go around and come around and come around and come around. Colloquially speaking, then, if you want to put it in your modern language, they recognized Earth as a do-over planet. That you would always get another chance, and another chance, and another chance, and another chance to work through the energies of darkness and bring them into light. But it's a little bit more complex than that. For again, over time, the souls first and foremost came into the solar system. And the first world they occupied is what you now recognize as the Asteroid Belt that was a planet called Maldek, which was destroyed because they didn't quite work the cycle out. And there was still a lot of conflict, still a lot of negativity, and ultimately it destroyed the planet, turning it into your asteroid belt. Now, many people did not understand that millions of years ago, not only Earth, but Mars and Maldek were habitable. Your sun, long ago, was slightly more massive than it is now, and slightly hotter and had slightly higher gravitation, pulling the planets in a little bit closer into what you call the habitable or Goldilocks zone, as your scientists say. So all three planets were habitable at that time. And so the souls began first and foremost to incarnate into the evolutionary beings on Maldek, and as we said, that didn't necessarily turn out as they planned. Next, they went to Mars and began to create the idea of habitation there in the life forms that naturally evolved upon that planet. Eventually, again, not quite having worked everything out, they created a vibration that allowed for a giant asteroidal impact to blow off the atmosphere of the planet. Now, there are still some primitive life forms on that planet, which you will discover soon enough. But the idea then became that the Earth was the only planet left in the solar system, whereby they could once again start up the cycle after the Anunnaki had created Homo sapien, and they found a home here on your world in terms of soul incarnation from Orion. But you see, again, it's a little busier than that. Because not only then is Earth the recycling planet for the ancient Orion story and journey of transformation, it is also the recycling planet for the Anunnaki journey and transformation because of what they had done, creating the stories of the fallen angels in your scriptures. These were the Anunnaki who had done what they shouldn't have done according to their own laws and were tasked with the idea then of guiding humans through the idea of their beginnings, of their journey on Earth. But it's even a little bit more busy than that. For you see, not only then do you have the idea of the ancient Orion recycling, the Anunnaki recycling, you have the Maldek recycling, the Martian recycling on Earth, and then when you have the parallel reality Earth that destroyed itself, creating the Greys, who came through to use your DNA to create us hybrids to allow their culture to continue, you have that particular journey of recycling and transformation as well going on Earth, playing itself out, all of these things coming together, playing themselves out on Earth, again through various cycles of build-up and destruction, build-up and destruction, build-up and destruction, from Lemuria to Atlantis to the ideas you express as your world wars. These are all recapitulations of the combination of all these things playing out, overlapping, all these stories and all these journeys of transformation going on right here in the grand central station of recycling, Earth. But now, with all of this coming together, all coming to a head, all coming to a point in the cycles that are occurring on your planet now, is the great opportunity beginning in your year of 2020 to really begin to break the chains of the old cycles and transform the ancient energy from darkness to light, allowing each and every one of you who walk that path and absorb and accept and allow that energy of transformation in to become the angels of Orion and end the cycle and begin a new one of prosperity and peace and beauty and creativity and love that will expand into the Earth becoming the sixth hybrid race and then blend with the others to become the seventh that will allow for a radiant energy of light to go out into the cosmos and allow Earth to become a stable beacon of energy rather than one that recycles itself over and over and over again. So this is the birth not only of a different Earth, but of an entirely new chapter in the idea of what Earth represents to the rest of the galaxy and the cosmos, in terms of the kind of energy it can begin to radiate to act as a stabilizing beacon for many other beings who may then ultimately have their own journeys of recycling, their own transformations to experience and partake in, and then looking to Earth to shine, even as you now look to the brightest star in the sky of Sirius, to act as a beacon to guide you into your higher selves, your better selves, to become truly fully realized and allow all the genetic markers within you from ancient times to finally open up to allow you to express the fullness of your being and to allow you to become a member of the Interstellar Alliance in full form that becomes a beacon, a bright shining star in the sky for millions of years to come. Does that sound like a good story? Yes. All right. So begin to awaken to the fact that all of these different journeys of recycling and transformation are overlapping now. And you can become, not only as a country, but as a world, the transformation nation. Allow yourselves to know you are innately transformers. Allowing the energy to flow through you in such a way that as you then add the vibration of love and light to it, can allow it to turn into eternal light, eternal guidance, and eternal beacon that others can also allow into themselves to ignite the spark of awareness within them. We thank you all for choosing to be strong enough to play these roles, for knowing that Earth was an exciting place to be at this time, and for partaking in this journey of transformation, in this glorious transformative story. You are potentially very, very, very powerful. And in your transformation, others will see that even though all of these journeys have overlapped on your world, with all of the story that they have brought with them of oppression and negativity and darkness from so many different directions, they still knew that because of the cyclic nature of your reality, that they would have a chance again and again and again and again to bring it to this point. And now you are at this point. For as we said in the last transmission, 2020, because of the way your language and culture interprets this idea, is not only about the idea of a clear vision for the future, but clarity of hindsight in your history as well, to be able to use the illusions of the past to your advantage, to springboard and propel you into the future that you create in your present. So allow it to come together, allow it to coalesce within you, and go forth as beacons of light, following your passion, acting on it to the best you can, with no insistence on what that outcome must look like, staying in a positive state no matter what happens, so that you can be the crucibles that will allow all of those journeys and all of those stories to begin to melt together into one powerful momentum that can burst forth from that crucible and crystallize in a new, pure form that will experience light and love and peace and harmony. Walk that path, if you will. It is completely in your hands. We thank you for allowing us to share this story and multitude of stories that you contain with you at this time. So when you look in a mirror, do not just see the idea of a single earth human, but millions upon billions of individuals amalgamated within each of you, each telling their own stories, bringing them to this world to transform them, ultimately through those that live today. You have inherited, you are the heirs of this legacy. Tell the stories that allow them to continue in the most positive possible way. The stories of your lives, the stories of who you are, your true selves. In return now, for the gift you have given us, I ask, in what way may we continue to be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and dialogues, if you will.
Hard questions?
We will give you some soft answers.
First question had to do with Joshua Tree and
Yes.
Midnight Under the Hunter's Moon.
Yes.
It's apparently it's 650,000 acres.
Yes. You find your own place in it.
So
It's a big area. There's a lot going on. You won't miss it if you're in the general area. You don't have to be that specific, except if you yourself are drawn to a particular place within it. It's all covered by what's happening, all of it. If you're anywhere in that area, you won't miss anything.
Does that mean that you should rely on your intuition and your own inner guidance?
What is it you humans often say? Duh.
Okay, so we'll move to another technology
Yes.
soon, but right now, give me a moment. Okay, you have expressed that those born with rare negative blood types have a deep connection to Sirius. Can you expand on any specific connections that those with the rare trait of red hair, green hazel eyes, and freckles have?
Well, there are strong connections to the idea of the elementals, for one thing. In terms of extraterrestrial connections, it's a mix of things. There is, of course, always the Anunnaki genetics present. There are some Pleiadian energies within that mix. There are some other things that come from elsewhere you have no names for in that mix extraterrestrially. But in terms of the idea of the energy of Gaia, they're strongly connected to nature spirits and elementals.
Great. In your exploration of the universe, when you come across negative ETs, how do you deal with them?
We mostly leave them alone. Because again, we can observe, but they do not match our frequency. So there's no effect upon us to witness them, to observe them. But the idea is that we recognize they may be at a certain stage in their journey, in their evolution. And most of the ones in that sense that truly are expressing negativity in that way, the way you're asking it, aren't really out here among the stars. They're usually relatively either planet bound or solar system bound. They don't usually reach too much farther. This is kind of one of the reasons for the intelligence of the space between the stars. It's almost the same kind of idea that you do when you quarantine people so that the disease cannot spread. So the fact that the stars to you are so far apart, unless you finally understand exactly how to span that gulf in an efficient way as we have and other civilizations have, you usually remain relatively bound to your own solar system and cannot spread the negative infection, so to speak. So the idea of your science fiction, where the negative beings can create a negative empire and go around and conquer a bunch of planets, usually can only happen within a very small amount of space, relatively speaking. They can reach other planets perhaps and do things like that, but it's a relatively limited experience within the universe that we have found, because they just can't get much farther.
So from that perspective, our own issues here on the planet having to do with energy and free energy and
Yes.
sources of energy.
Yes.
Is that part of the reason that we don't have free energy at this point? Because we would possibly use it in a negative way, the
It's
unlimited?
part of the reason, yes. But also another part of the reason is that individuals who are negatively oriented are afraid that they will lose control if that comes about.
So how does that cycle get shifted?
Well, we can't really go much into that because then we're talking about the probabilities that are coming up in your reality.
I see. Okay, we can always explore it another day.
Yes.
I hear the stars of Orion really form a triangle, and that area is a special place. Can you tell us what makes it so special that ETs were willing to fight for it? Is that even
It's not
correct?
a relevant question, and they don't form a triangle.
Oh, okay, well, scratch that. What type of government did Atlantis have towards the end days compared to the current world governments?
It began with kings. It ended with dictators.
One of the biggest crimes during Atlantean times was genetic manipulation. The hybrid children agenda is also done through genetic manipulation. Would you please clarify what makes the hybrid children agenda karma free?
The idea is that it is part of the evolutionary process of Earth. The idea of the genetic experiments done in Atlantis was for the idea of personal aggrandizement and gain and the idea of power over others. So the agreements in both directions are not the same in terms of their energy. The idea of the hybridization agenda is something you have all agreed to participate in because you understand it is part of the evolutionary path that you chose, and therefore you are simply being assisted in this by others who have the technology to do so, even though they may also be doing it for their own purposes. It's still part of a larger agreement.
Now, since your society is stabilized by the artificial intelligence that's beamed at your planet,
Yes.
what about the hybrid children? What is the stabilizing energy for them?
The stabilizing energy of the hybrid races, in a sense, is created aboard the ships.
Do tell.
I just told you. There are particular frequencies that the ships themselves are flooded with that represent the stabilizing energy that comes from the 3 artificial moons around our world. They have their own ways also of creating this stabilization energy.
So what about for planet Earth? Once they're here, it appears that once beings are here, they
Yes.
can succumb to the levels
That's
of
why
imbalance.
we already told you that the artificial moons of Epsilon, Epiphany, and Eclipse around our world are beaming stabilizing energy to your moon, which then beams down to your planet. It's in preparation for the stabilization atmosphere that is required for the hybrid children that will eventually come to live among you, and also will help in your own stabilization.
So one particular Earth trajectory is the one where stabilizing energy is being beamed towards the planet, and other beings are going to be joining this environment to help stabilize the
Yes.
energy.
Yes, because they will bring the stabilization energy with them as well.
Is that what was discovered through all these millennium of existence? and history was
It's
that
one of the things.
that human consciousness requires stabilizing energy in order to remain balanced and to
Yes.
express itself in a positive way?
Yes, because look at the idea of the fundamental needs. Yes? Remember
Yes.
that one of the needs is the idea of an environment that is conducive to expansion. Therefore, the stabilizing energy is part of the idea of the creation of an environment that is conducive to life and expansion.
And essentially, what you're saying is that we've reached a level of acceptance of our self-worth that allowed us to buy or surmount the negative markers that were suppressing the state of full self-acceptance. And it's through those increasing vibrational states that we're now able to attract assistance in having stabilizing energy focused at the earth.
You sort of sound like a Sasani person when you say that.
That's just so fascinating that of all the stories of the universe, that the one that's relevant to us is about this stabilizing energy. And maybe people even feel it within themselves, their desire
Yes.
to stabilize with love relationships or
Yes.
positive reflections.
Yes.
That these are the correct states for us to fully express our potential.
Yes.
And to be able to discern when you're being, in a sense, seduced down the rabbit hole.
Oh, no, don't say, let us continue the transmission by allowing yourselves to become very relaxed in your seats and let go of the cares of the day. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Take another deep breath in and let it out. Take a deep breath in and hold it, hold it, hold it, and blow it out. Continue to breathe deeply, gently, and easily. Allow yourselves to focus on the holotope before you as your lights and music begin to play. And come on this journey with us. Allow yourselves to simply let go, to float in the void among the stars, and to look back through the eons of time to the ancient days of Orion. Look back through time to the ancient days of the Anunnaki. Look back through time to the ancient days of Maldek. Look back through time to the ancient days of Mars. Look back through time to the days of the Greys. Look back through time to Lemuria. Look back through time to the days of Atlantis. Look back through time to your history, to the cycles of light and darkness that define the reality in which you have experienced your path, your journey, your story. And now simply look to the present. When new light enters the story, new awareness awakens in the story, and a new path unfolds before you on this journey. From the perspective of time, you have spent millions upon millions upon millions of years to arrive at this point, to arrive at this timing, 2020, when you look back and look forward simultaneously, the mirror reflection of probability, the mirror reflection of all that you have experienced behind you and ahead of you, as time collapses into the now, allowing you to take with you what you have learned, what you have experienced from the long journey of arriving here and now, and what you will take with you on the journey ahead as you move forward as more of yourself, gathering yourselves together, integrating the different aspects of your personalities that represent and reflect your connections to all that we have discussed, all that we have shared with you, from Orion and the Anunnaki and Maldek and Mars and the Greys and the Earth and Lemuria and Atlantis. Anything you require from those experiences is still with you if you wish it to be, but with you only in the way that serves you now in moving forward, at the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. The cycles upon cycles upon cycles upon cycles that have defined the very existence, the very experience of what it is to be on Earth are now coming to an end, to begin a new, longer cycle, a cycle of eons, a cycle in which you can shine forth, illuminating the path ahead of joy, clarity, peace, creativity, beauty, and unconditional love that shall accompany you forevermore. For now, 2020 is the filter, and in that moment is your opportunity of all that you have learned to leave behind what no longer works for you, what no longer is relevant for the you that you prefer to be moving forward. Let it fall away. Let it remain where it will still serve those who may come after you on their own journeys and own cycles of experience and transformational endeavors from darkness to light. Leave it for them on the path so they may pick it up and use it as they wish, while you move forward, taking with you only those elements, those bits of awareness and information that serve you on your forward journey to allow you to remain stabilized in your vibrational energy of true self, with open eyes and awareness, absorbing and encompassing and allowing all to come to you, which will only be those things that always serve you. Relax and release that which you no longer need. Open your arms to receive that which you do need, that which is you, that which urges you and carries you forward, entices you, and allows you to be curious every moment about what you experience in the present, so that you may use it to your advantage and in the service of others by being yourself, by being the example of all that you have learned and incorporated and integrated within yourself, to be the living example so that others may see in you the joy and light and life and love in your energy, in your eyes, in your heart, in your soul, in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, so that others may see how you walk the path of being yourself, so that you may give them at least the opportunity and the option to choose that for themselves as well. But as you do that, like a river, you move on. You have left them the only gift you can give is the opportunity to know themselves by seeing the living example of you as you know yourself to the depths of your being. And you move on and continue to walk and move forward, charting the course, revealing the path to enlightenment and oneness and wonder beyond measure. Dive into the ocean of your imagination and float down to the depths of your being, to the depths of your soul. Float freely, breathing of the liquid light that surrounds you, in and out, fulfilling you, allowing you to drift and dream in lucidity, in awareness, awake and alert and yet dreaming, forever dreaming, forever awake, so that you may see, so that you may perceive the doorways and portals that open before you, that you may cross those thresholds and find only on the other side the reality that you prefer, the beauty that you seek, the knowledge of yourself, and the awareness of your being, and the reflection of the spark of light that is your soul. That is the facet of the multidimensional crystal of creation that you are. And that will allow you to feel the blessings, the gratitude, the appreciation, and allow you to express the grace that is within you as you glide forward in life, floating freely through your imagination, through your consciousness, through the illusion that serves you, in only those ways that you prefer. That you become transparent to yourself. That you become the waking dream of all that is. So it may reflect upon itself its own awareness of its vast beauty and power and grace through all of you, as all of you are all that is. Awakening to itself in a new way, discovering itself in a new way through you, through itself as you, through itself as us, so that we may experience ourselves as family. And so that as you cross that threshold of those doors that open before you, that welcome you in, we may thus then say to you, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. Allow yourselves to breathe freely of the new atmosphere, of the new reality in the clear, crisp air and environment that nurtures and sustains you and propels you forward and energizes you and nourishes you and frees you to realize your greatest power the freedom to choose. Pass through the filter of 2020 with eyes in all directions so that you may use all that you can experience in the present, connecting to, tapping into, drawing from everything that you deem shall serve you to be yourself more and more, to open up to the cosmos and take in your birthright of self-awareness, self-recognition, and self-realization in the fullness of your being, in the full spectrum of light and life and love that you deserve, for you are worthy now and forever, and it always has been so, or you would not be here at this moment, by your own volition, by your own choosing, at this time, in this place, of the opening doors of insight and clarity and crystallization. Feel your vibration resonate and ring like the clearest bell. For that is your song, that is your truth, that signature vibration, that signature frequency, that is you. Let it sing forth, let it ring forth, and let it bring forth all that you are, so that you may receive all of the gifts that are yours to receive, so that you may give all of the gifts that are yours to give, for which there are always countless beings waiting for your sharing of being yourself as you walk on the path that is now you. Continue to breathe deeply in and out. In and out. In and out. Like waves of eternity lapping upon the shores of imagination. Continue to breathe and float freely in the dream on the currents of the ocean of creation. Allow your lights and music to soften, knowing that it still will resonate within you. Even in what seems to be the void, you know it is not empty. For you have filled it with yourself, and it has fulfilled your being. Continue to breathe in silence among the stars, in and out, in and out. Shivar.